Hello. Today I'm going to show you how to do the project where you're going to make a musical instrument. Okay, so you're going to make this musical instrument tuned to a major scale. That's the assignment. You can use anything that resonates in an audible range for humans. That's 20 to 20,000 hertz. However, columns of air tend to be the easiest one. You can do a stringed instrument. You can do ones that I've mentioned in the previous videos. You could use other ones. Just needs to be a homemade instrument, not an instrument that you purchased, but a homemade ones. But the columns of air do tend to be the easiest. I think the bottles, which I'll show you in a little bit, are pretty easy. PVC pipe, either like the Blue Man Group type one or the pan flute, either one of those is not too bad either. So there's, but you may find ones that you like better than others, and you can go with that. Okay, so you want to use eight notes of the major scale. Key thing we want to do is kind of give you an idea how to go through and do this. The key is to, especially I'll use the example of using a bottle, use an empty bottle, and then when you play that empty bottle, that'll be the lowest note. We're going to call that the root. Okay, we're going to call that the root. And then what you want to do is you're going to fill out this chart and calculate what the other ones are going to be. So now, in order to find the pitch of your root, we're going to have to go to the online tuner. Seems like around 193, 194. So you'd come here and we would say 193 hertz. Okay, so that would be our root. Everything's going to be based on that. Then what you're going to use is the 12th through 2. You can either use the 12th through 2 or you can just use the 1.059. The 1.059 will work fine. The 12th through 2 will be a little bit more precise. We're only talking about a 0.5% difference between the two. Let me remind you how that's done. So if you want to find the 12 through 2, we would take 2 and we would raise it to the 1 divided by 12 power. That's 1 over 12 is 0.08333 repeating. And there's our 12 through 2, the 1.059 would be fine. However, if you add this to the memory of your calculator, and then if we took, we had 193, let's take 193, and we're going to multiply that by memory recall, and we would get 204, so we could write in 204. We're not going to use that. We're going to tune a bottle to that or our instrument. We're just going to want the yellow ones that are the parts of the major scale. Then if we take that number and multiply it by the 12th through 2, we would get, say, 217. We could go down this one we would use, 217. And we would just continue this process, writing them all in there. However, if in this case, once I have it set up, I can just go, there's another half step, another one, and I just keep going. Now my original was 193, so 386 would be exactly 2 to 1. And what we'll find that if you use the 12th through 2, you will get exactly double once you get to the octave. If you use a 1.059, you'll be a little bit short underneath. As far as tuning the instrument, it won't be a big deal, but that'll be the one of the key things involved. Okay, and then you answer the rest of the questions, and then you're going to make a video of yourself playing the 8 notes to show how it sounds. If you want to go a little bit farther, a little extra credit, you can play a well-known song. You could use a different scale. You could use a chromatic scale. You could use a minor scale. There's plenty of scales you could use. Okay. Let me show you mine. Here's the bottle instrument that I did. And let me show you one of the instruments that I've made that you could use for your project. Now remember, for the project, you can do any instrument you want. I think some of the simplest ones are the pop bottles. Okay, PVC pipe, the pan flute, a lot of different ones. Okay, but this is certainly one of the easiest ones because many of you are used to doing that. You just put a different amount of water in it, and the pitch changes. Okay, now a couple different ways you can actually play these. You can tap them. And in that situation, you're actually listening to the vibrations of the glass. These, however, are not tuned for that. These are tuned for playing the column of air that's inside. So when you deal with that column of air vibrating, there's actually some things that I think you find helpful. I find the glass bottles better than the plastic. So you can do plastic. I think you get a better sound on the glass than you do the plastic. I think a couple of reasons are that the glass is more rigid and you're getting less contribution of the plastic. And this neck widens out more quickly than the narrow glass. So if you have the opportunity, I would use the glass. The plastic will work, but I don't think it sounds quite as good. Okay. Now, when you get these tuned, the way you'll do them is you'll start with your empty bottle, go to a tuner, find out what that frequency is, and then what you'll do is you'll multiply that by the 12th root of 2, 1.059, and then that will give you a half step up. Now I don't have the half step up, I have a major scale. So then you multiply that one by the 12th root of 2, and that will give you the next note. Okay? So remember, this step is a whole step. So but your 1.059 is the increment of the half step. So you have to do 2 of those to get this, and 2 of those for that one. This gap is a half step, and a whole step, a whole step, a whole step, and this one is a half step. So just remember what you have for the major scale. Then you'll just add trial and error. Just add some water, and once you've done your calculations based on your root, then what you'll simply do is add water, test it with the tuner. Does it sound good? Does it match up? You probably won't get it perfect, but try to get as close as you can, and then go through and you'll get them all. You might find it handy, especially if you want to keep your bottles tuned for a long period of time. Cap them, because as the water evaporates, the column of air will get longer and the instrument will go flat. Except for the root, if you use that as an empty bottle, that one will stay the same. Okay, so that's how you would tune it. Let's see how this one sounds. So I have a major scale. That's all you got to do for the project, is show me that you can make a major scale. Now, if you want some extra credit, you're going to have to work a little bit harder. So what you could do is, if you could play any sort of common, well-known song, so I can see if it sounds good, you can do that. I'll play a little song here. You also could do a chromatic scale, which would be all of the notes, not just the whole step, half step, whole step, half step, but actually all the notes, and you'd have 12 or 13 bottles to do that, or whatever instrument you choose to use. You could also do a minor scale instead of the major scale. So, but if you can play a song, I think that'd be the most fun. See, we'll play Name That Tune. Hope that helps, and hope you have some fun making some instruments and playing some songs.